A calm has come over the Los Angeles Rams and the rest of the NFL post the NFL draft. And in this video, I'm talking about possible trade targets that the Rams could at some point in this calendar year potentially trade for. I'm not saying this happens in the offseason. It might happen during the season if a team is struggling or things like that and the Rams see an opportunity to trade for a veteran player to help them with this all-in mentality to put them over the hump and go get that Super Bowl. That's what we all want. So that's what we're talking about in this video. Feel free to like and subscribe to the Rams Radar and like and hype if you're into that sort of thing. And of course, comment below. I would love to talk with you, whether you're a Rams fan or an NFL fan or a random person that found this video for some reason, but would love to engage with you in the comments below. So let's get right into it here. So the first one, I'm bringing it up, Maxx Crosby, right? The trade with the Ravens didn't go through. You can't help but think the Raiders are going to be a team that's going through a rebuild. They already tried to trade Maxx Crosby. Maybe there's a potential that he gets traded to someone else. But if the Rams are looking for a star player to add to this Rams defense, and they're prepared to give up draft capital for it, I think the Raiders would be someone willing to trade Maxx Crosby. And so I don't think this happens. I think that the Rams have a really good D line and they have some young defensive, edge players and interior players that are going to get paid soon. So that's why I don't think this would happen. But I can't help but think, even if it's a 1 year rental sort of situation like what they did with Von Miller. Again, I don't think you can go into every season think you're going to get some sort of Von Miller trade like the Rams did back in 2021. But I can't help but think, hey, this is a player that is on the trade block, and I think someone's going to trade for him. Why not the Rams? All right, my next like superstar player that if this happened, I think Ram fans like myself would just go nuts is Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson. And again, I will shout out Cameron DeSilva on the Rams Wire. He did write an article listing three wide receivers that the Rams could trade for. And that's kind of what inspired this video. So shout out the Rams Wire. But Garrett Wilson, this would be crazy, right? Like everyone talked about how, oh man, the Rams need to draft a wide receiver, at the 13th overall pick. There's still some Ram fans that aren't over that yet. But could you imagine if the Rams, traded, two first round picks and change for Garrett Wilson? And then you have Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson. Now, granted, I think the only way this trade would ever happen is if there was some sort of injury or the Jets season just went totally down the tube, which, is possible when you have Geno Smith and some questionable decisions with the Jets organization. I'll just put it lightly like that. But I don't think it's crazy to think Garrett Wilson gets traded. And if he is on the trade block, I don't think it's crazy to think that the Rams would be a team wanting to acquire his services. That is definitely an all-in type of move that the Rams would make. Going back to the Rams' last Super Bowl run, remember when they signed OBJ? That was an opportunity they did, and they didn't know Robert Woods was going to tear his ACL at the time. Unfortunately, that did end up happening. But that being said, if there was a scenario where the Rams were able to trade for Garrett Wilson, I think they would take it. All right, so then these next two are the wide receivers that again off the Rams Wire article, but I have a couple others beyond this. Okay, so but the first one is Jerry Jeudy, a wide receiver for the Browns. Now, anyone who's followed Jerry Judy's career or played him in fantasy football knows that he has these feast or famine type of games. I think this could be a strategic trade. Number one, because I think if the Rams do feel the need to upgrade that wide receiver three position, which I don't know if Jerry Jeudy is this massive upgrade over what the Rams currently have in kind of a wide receiver three committee with with Jordan Whittington, Mumfield, and then they just got C.J. Daniels. So I'm cool if they don't make this trade, but if there was injuries or something that would happen in the season, and Jerry Jeudy really wanted out of Cleveland, I don't think this is crazy. I really don't. And Matthew Stafford would definitely be the best quarterback that Jerry Jeudy had ever played with in his NFL career. So I think it wouldn't take a ton of money for it to happen. And yeah, I don't think it's crazy to think Jerry Jeudy finishes this next NFL season with another team. Will it be the Rams? Only time will tell. Chris Godwin. Oh, and one more thing about Jerry Jeudy is that I think that just the Browns, if they are going full rebuild, building for next year, which it seems like they're always in a rebuild, Jerry Jeudy is probably one of their players that's a possible trade target, right? Anyway, so the next one is Chris Godwin, wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's had some injury struggles, things like that. Tampa, I think as long as Baker is healthy, they would never trade Chris Godwin. I think they have a good connection. Baker seems like a guy's guy who likes pretty relational quarterback. So he doesn't want his receivers changing up all the time. He already lost Mike Evans. So you would think that Chris Godwin is pretty set there in Tampa. But if Tampa's season starts to not look so hot, maybe he's someone who's ready for a change of scenery. Out of all the people I'm talking about this video, this is the one I think probably is the least likely to happen. Just from anything I've seen of Chris Godwin, he seems like he's pretty content in Tampa as well. And if you're a Buccaneers fan, please let me know if you think that he could potentially be on the trade block. But I don't see that happening personally. All right, then we got my two last ones in this video I'm going to talk about. And these ones, they are the ultimate, like, hey, this is a player with some upside. They're a young player. It would be super cheap to trade for them. But the first one I got to bring up is Buffalo Bills wide receiver Keon Coleman. There was the drama with him and like the Bills owner and just everything going on there. Maybe he's looking for a change of scenery. I don't think Keon Coleman is by any means this phenomenal wide receiver, generational talent, or things like that. But that's why I think the Rams could probably trade him for the Snead Special 6 round pick swap or something like that. I don't think it's crazy to think that Keon Coleman gets traded somewhere. I just don't know if that would be the Rams. Would he fit in the Rams system? I actually think he would. I think in that wide receiver 3 role, I think he would do well behind Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. I don't think it's unrealistic for him to be a veteran presence that comes in and can pick up a playbook and adapt to Sean McVay's system. But Rams wide receivers also need to know how to block. And I think that would be kind of the biggest thing is Keon Coleman, committed to, doing the craft of a wide receiver, not just, being all flash, one trick pony, but coming in, blocking, you know, doing, doing the whole route tree. So I let me know your thoughts. Would you be cool with Keon Coleman coming to the Rams? And then the last one is Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver for the Patriots. Now, I'm going to say this. I think the Patriots, given their situation with their head coach and just some other things that could happen, it's not crazy to think that the clock is ticking. Um, if the Patriots lose, they could be a dumpster fire. And I know that's crazy to say, a team that was just in the Super Bowl, but I don't know if they say winning cures everything. I don't know if the winning could cure that. And maybe you're in the Patriots locker room right now and you're a player and you're like, you know what, I kind of want to get out of here. Kayshon Boutte, I think, is someone that would be ready for a change of scenery. So I think out of Keon Coleman and Kayshon Boutte, I'd actually prefer Kayshon Boutte as the wide receiver 3 if the Rams were to make that kind of trade. Again, I don't think these trades happen here in the offseason. I think if they were to happen, it'll be because of injury. It'll be because of, a situation that, is kind of an outlier, and it would happen in season. So those are my thoughts. I would love to hear yours in the comments below. I'll put a couple comments down there and we can start chatting up a storm. As always, thanks so much for watching. Go Rams, horns up, and peace out. Let's go Rams. Woo!